Shabbat Shalom. Sometime in the 1930s, the late and very much lamented Rabbi Joseph B. Yosef Dov Yoshe Ber Soloveitchik visited Israel then under the British mandate. He had some possibility of getting an appointment to the rabbinate, which didn't work out. But he spent some time in Israel. Unlike most people, he did some touring and he visited a kibbutz. Kibbutzim then were, for the most part, maybe all of them, founded and run by a very, not secular, but even anti-religious Jews. So he went to this kibbutz and he got a tour, and they took him to the barn, and the kibbutz guy who was his guide said, "Oh, and here's our cow Rachel." And the Rav recoiled in shock, and the kibbutz apparently saw that the idea of giving this woman's name, a biblical woman's name, to the cow was really unsettling to the Rav. So he said, sarcastically, "Oh, is this also asur? Is this just one of the things that you rabbis in your books say we can't do?" Well, the Rav didn't say what he answered him, or if he answered him, but in his commentary on Parshat Shemot, he tells a story and says that, in fact, you shouldn't give names like that to animals, because names are something that are distinctly pertinent to humans. That's why the parsha in the second book of the Torah begins, Ve'ela Shemot B'nai Yisrael. People have names. People have distinct individual personalities, and that is one of the things that the name is said to represent, or in some way to be involved in. And this is one of the things that separates humans from animals. Now, it's interesting that in a midrash, which is attributed to the Tanchuma, it's not apparently in the editions of the Tanchuma, but some other early sources cite it in the name of the Tanchuma. The Tanchuma says on that first pasuk, that first verse from Shemot, Be'ela Shemot, that people have three names. Shemot, Shalosha Shemot Yesh Ba'adam. Echad shekara lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu Adam. Echad shekara Aviv V'imo. V'echad shekarehu Latzmo. Each of us has three names. One is the name that God has given us, which is human. The other is the name that our parents give us. And the third is the name that we give ourselves. Now, the name that God gives us, in addition to being, having this zechut, you could say, this merit, this bonus of being part of the human species, is also somewhat individual. I mean, some people are, there are certain physical and emotional and intellectual capacities that are natal. Some people are born with a mathematical mind. Some people are born with very skilled hands, so they can fix things and make beautiful things. Some people are born with great emotional intelligence and really know how to relate to other people in a very empathetic way. These are things that, these are sort of like the name that God calls us. Then, the name that our parents call us, no one asks to be born. We're brought into the world by our parents. And this also gives us not only the genes, but also the education and very formative years that have a lot to do with the personalities that we develop. But the third and the most important and the most ethically demanding, and the one that gives us the greatest responsibility and the greatest potential, is the name we give ourselves. It's a rule of ethics that Maimonides, the Rambam, states that the more control you have over a situation, the greater your responsibility. I think it's a rule we can all agree with. we may not like what's going on in our countries, but even if the countries are a democracy or have democratic institutions, our vote is one in several million. It may or may not be counted. Who knows when the next time there'll be a referendum or election and so on. But in our neighborhood community, our voice is much more prominent. And if we really want to make an effort and go knock on every single door we can, so we can change things there, and that gives us greater responsibility. And of course, the greatest responsibility is to ourselves. The Rambam says this clearly in his commentary on pericope that our greatest responsibility is to ourselves because we have the greatest control over that. I can make of myself what I want to. Yes, there are external factors, external restraints, things that can limit me or can block me or make it more difficult. Of course, also things that can make it the other way. But basically, it's for me to actualize to the full the potentials that I have. And this is a very important lesson. This is the name that we call ourselves, not simply the name that we call ourselves. Hi, I'm the local doctor or the local plumber, or I'm doctor or professor or sergeant or whatever, but not just the name we make of ourselves, so that has a lot to do with the name we make for ourselves in our profession, in our community, but what we make of ourselves, that's the greatest responsibility that we have. That's the name we have that really is for us to decide. Shemot, B'nai Yisrael. Thank you very much, and Shabbat Shalom.